Welcome to what episode is this? Episode number 7. I act like I've got hundreds of episodes in the bank. These are my favorite episodes to do. I've had a lot, if you've been with us since the first episode, I've had a lot of my friends on that I kind of know their story, but you got to start somewhere. And then there's been a few sprinkled in here and there where I have absolutely no idea who the person is at all. And that's kind of the whole point of this podcast. And our next guest, never met him. Actually, I met him probably 30 seconds ago, but literally know nothing about the guy. And if you want to be on a future episode, bam, right there. Shoot me an email. If you're just listening, the email address is sttf.weareverywhere@gmail.com. And our guest today is Pete Macone, or Mac1, if that's what you want to call him. I known him for 30 seconds and found out this story to Mac1. Pete, what is up, man?
Yo, what's up?
So before we get into Phish and before we get into who you are just as a person, we do have a mutual friend, Kyle Leonard. And he was on episode 2, and he shot me a text the other day. He's the one that he was the bridge to you and I meeting and doing this. And he shared a story which might not sound very climactic for a podcast, but it'll kind of give us a bridge into launching it off. If I can share it with you.
All right.
So you and Kyle met through Phish.
Yeah.
And he was telling me that he actually he attended your wedding, and he was saying that while he was at your wedding, the table that he was assigned to was, I guess, a bunch of just your Phish friends. And he was saying that by the time that your wife, which up to this point he had never met, was giving her thanks for everyone coming out. She's like, thanks to the family over here, helping put this together. Thanks to all our friends over here. And he said, then she pointed to the table where he and your other Phish buddies were sitting at and said, thank you so much to the Phish table for coming out. Do you remember this at all?
Totally legit. Yeah, no, she has a lot of respect for the game.
Is she a fan as well?
She's a non-fan. Well, so I say it's the same way every time. Everyone asks that. Oh, she goes to shows too. So she's not a fan, and she's been to 14 shows. So that's when you know what I mean? That's when you gotta put a ring on it. Yeah,
put a ring on it.
She's done 14 and would not call herself a fan. So that's a good that's a very understanding girlfriend, fiance, and now wife. So
yeah, and that's what you want too. I mean, because this thing that we're all so passionate about, it could for some people be a deal breaker. It's like, oh, I met this dude and he's obsessed with these 4 older guys and they just tour around and they got all these shenanigans going on. But that's awesome, man.
Yeah, she's like, oh, I really always wanted to just spend Halloween and New Year's and alone and 4th of July, for years. She's like, I haven't seen you on a 4th of July in years. I'm like,
I'm doing this thing.
The alternative is you get someone that's in it, and we are so passionate about it. And so I am someone who's so fearful of if I actually was with someone that was as into it as we are, then all of a sudden it's we wouldn't get any. We'd be living in a box right now, just touring. Yeah.
Yeah, making a living off selling grilled cheese in Sierra Nevada. For sure. I mean, no shade to that. If that's what you do, that's what you do.
Get it, dude. 2010 for a whole year. Yeah. 18 shows that year, and a lot of t-shirts and grilled cheese for sure.
Okay, so do you, and I see some artwork behind you. Or do you do some art? Did you make your own t-shirts or?
Well, these are Pollocks. I just had to slap them up in the back because I haven't done anything when they're meant to be made into these cubes. And
okay.
I should have framed them by now, but I haven't.
Oh, okay. I can see now that it is a Pollock.
Yeah, he signed them, which was cool.
Oh, wicked.
Yeah, it is cool. But so I was just I got to get use out of these. I better put them on my turntable. No, not really, man. I had one idea for one shirt. We threw it out there in 2010. I was working as a paraprofessional part-time at an elementary school. Tech teacher was super cool. She's like, bring the shirts in. We printed them ourselves, and then I sold them all. on
Oh,
tour.
all of them. Cool.
Oh yeah, and we sold grilled cheese too. And I learned a really like elementary level rule of selling on lot, which is like you can't use fish, and I put fish on my shirt. So at one point, like I got like approached by like the people they say are out there that you don't know are out there. These guys just come out of nowhere, like pull out the lanyards. They're like, get over here. And they're just like, give us all your t-shirts. I'm like, what? Yeah. And I lost them. A number of them anyway. Yeah. At that point. Yeah. You have more in your pocket? No.
It's funny that you say that, because literally the first piece of Phish merch that I bought ever was in Miami 09. And for night one, coming out of the show, people, and this isn't official Phish merch, it's just people out there doing exactly what you were doing, and it was nothing but a white t-shirt, massive Phish logo, and then the tour dates on the back. And I bought it, and then since it's just a white tee, like I tie-dyed it. It was like my first tie-dye project. But I've always wondered that. I was like, you weren't supposed to be doing that, because
trouble. Yeah.
But I got one, got away with it.
Through like the campgrounds at festivals, all creepy. They're not supposed to, but yeah.
But it was OG.
It was a good year, man. It was a good year. It was fun.
Yeah, that's kind of like the thing is like there's people that are going for all different things. You got some people on lot just there to make money to get to the next show. You got people that are artists, that really want to be like, hey, like I made this t-shirt. You got people going just to party. You got people going for the music. It's just this nice collective.
When you're like really in that game and you do need to sell grilled cheese to get on to like the next joint, like you'd start doing stuff like we're watching, we watched encores on this one stretch of the tour. We watched all the encores. You would watch from the back, you'd get to the back, watch the encore and be first out, while the encore's finishing. So like, which is just different than, other experiences at other times when you're not doing that. And you're like, we sit there till forever and let everyone else leave or whatever, there is just so many different experiences.
Yeah. We did that one show. I can't remember where it was, or we might have done it at a couple. Same thing. We left right before the encore, got out, and we were just slinging waters because we got them from like Sam's Club or Costco or whatever, super cheap, and just like made enough money. Like they went like that so fast. We were right outside the venue, lugging the ice chest up and everything, and just boom, 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 done. Then we hit shakedown, spend it all.
Yeah. So much for that.
So before we get into all of the other good Phish stuff, we've never met. So tell me a little bit about, who you are, what you do, like where are you at right now? Where do you reside?
I'll try to keep it short for you. I live so like New England forever, right? Like New England born and bred. I was born in Massachusetts and I lived in Maine for a while. Went to high school in Maine, went to college in New Hampshire, and then eventually I've just become like a New Hampshire transplant, at this point. So now I've actually lived the longest in New Hampshire of any of the states in New England. So, but yeah, New England kid. And then now New England, almost 40 something, just came up, lived in the mountains of New Hampshire for a long time. I lived in Oregon for a year, came back to that area. And so that's kind of always been home. A lot of snowboarding, went to Plymouth State University, which was college then, so if this is the regular crowd watching, you guys, you're like, Plymouth State, I don't know what he's even talking about. I don't know what New Hampshire is, dude. Like that's, you guys have, which I got to immediately really quick, just while we're on New England, go back to Kyle's episode and you guys talking about Worcester, dude, and the show that was in Worcester. And he's like, where is it? Like, Worcester, how do you say that? Worcester? And you go, yeah, that sounds right. And I'm just, it's not, it was so wrong. It was amazing. I was laughing so hard.
Dude, anyway, we got so much flack for that from so many people. Like that was the main takeaway from that episode. People were like, dude, it's Worcester. And we were like, well, why is there like, it looks like Worcester. I don't know.
I go, it's Worcester, kid. It's Worcester. And he's just like, and he goes, no, it's not. And I was like, yeah, it's not like just a joke on TV commercials. Like it's actually how we say it. That was too good, dude. That was awesome. When you leaned in, you go, that sounds right. And I was just like, yes, like it's so wrong. And
clip it.
Yeah, so good. But so anyway, yeah. So New England, I've been in hospitality my whole life, like restaurants. I grew up like working in restaurants, enjoying that flexibility of like making tons of money and going to Phish and all that. Eventually like kind of got more serious in that. And then now I'm a partner in what was 2 restaurants pre-COVID, now 1 restaurant. I was previously had like 55 employees.
Wow.
I think we're down to like, 20 maybe. Less than half of that, but 1 storefront is gone. Literally, we kind of absorb them into one space now with double-sided menu, right? So the essence of the 2 exists, but obviously losing a storefront, we lost a lot of bodies. But yeah, so I run 1 restaurant now, and and I have we have the next thing on the horizon. So hopefully soon we do the next deal, and just probably going to be sticking around this area in New Hampshire for a while. I'm in Manchester, New Hampshire, which is like 40 minutes north, 40 to 42 an hour north of Boston, or real bad traffic, like 2 hours. But basically all of Massachusetts comes up into New Hampshire, and so I went snowboarding today, and I'm about 40 minutes to an hour and a half from, probably 14 or 18 ski areas.
Cool.
But we're also close to the ocean and close to the city, close to Boston, and New York is like 3.5 hours.
Yeah. So, and you're in prime time, so I'm assuming all of these East Coast runs, you're like going.
Dude, so you got when Kyle introed me in episode 2, he's like, yeah, so I guess it's his buddy Pete, right? And he's like a New England kid, right? So he's like one of those fucking guys that just like won't fly for Phish, right?
Oh yeah, he did say that.
Because he just goes to every show and he's all so close. And then he's like, I don't fly for Phish. Yeah. And it's always been like that. He's always like, Dix, come out to Dix. And I'm like, dude, I don't fly for Phish, and that's always been kind of my jam. Not necessarily because it's like, I'm serious, but at the same time, we have access to so much. So, I've done runs that are just like, dude, I've done runs where we go like 4 in a row, 5 in a row. I go back and work 3 days and then hit the next 3, it's all right there. So yeah, it's cool. Albany, haven't missed Albany shows. I haven't missed SPAC shows at all. For the most part, I'm about 100 shows. Like I'm at 90, I think I'm at 90 shows. So, all that stuff is really accessible. So yeah, I'm right in the pocket, man. It's like
you're prime location.
Pretty sweet. Yeah.
So perfect segue. You said you've been to almost 100 shows. When and where was your first show?
Yeah, first show was 03. Was it? I went to it. So
no shit.
Thing, right? Like I'm really close to. So this is a kind of interesting one. I'll try to be fast. And I'm always like thinking I'm just going to keep talking. Let's try to be fast.
No, that's the whole point of this, man.
Yeah. I was like, all right, I'm looking at everybody else's time. So I'm like, I got to keep it like an hour. And so anyway, so when I was in 8th grade, it was the summer before senior year, actually. We are driving up to Baxter State Park, which is this park like way up in the middle of nowhere in Maine. And it's like the whole family, but I'm like 14, right? So I'm like, my family's so just lame, dude. I don't want to be with my family. They're so lame. Well, it's the exact same weekend as Lemon Wheel in 98. And they're going up to Loring. And so I don't know if you know anything about Maine, but Maine is like this huge state, right? And like this right here is people. And then this is like no one. And then up on the border of Canada, there's more people, but the rest is like empty. And
that's kind of how I'm in Michigan right now. And it's not maybe that extreme, but like the further north you go, you see less and less people unless they're like going up there to like vacation and stuff. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So it's very wide open. There's so anyway, everyone's driving up and the last stop was Bangor. So like the grocery store was flooded with Phish fans. And then on the drive up, these cars, and it's the 90s. So like you still had like the old like station wagons with the wooden handle, like kids were driving those kind of things still. And so like, I'm just like glued to the window, like, oh my God. Like, I'm like, this looks like Woodstock. I'm 14. I'm like, what am I doing with my stupid family? And when I started the year in freshman year, there was I took French, and so it was the only class I would have been with seniors. And these two seniors are like, yo, did you go to that Phish festival? Oh, it was so fun, like blah, blah, blah. And I was like, man, I got to do that someday. So fast forward to 2003, and it's back at Loring, and I'm like 18, I think, or whatever.
Old enough to go.
Old enough to, I'm doing it. And I'm working in Bar Harbor, which is this huge main tourist destination. It's an island on the coast of Maine, beautiful town, like, but really like fun, like bunch of hospitality kids go work for the summer kind of town. So I'm living there, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to drive there. It's probably, Maine's big. You guys, you're in big state, and all those, you guys, Midwest guys are used to big states, but it's like, it's like a 4.5 hour drive. And I'm like, I'm just going to send it in my Jetta. And I'm pretty sure I might have given up on like Saturday morning. Like I was there for just the 2 days pretty much. I remember being really late on it. Like I saw no traffic, no one. I was like that late. Like I just rolled in. So I was parked in like the shittiest zone, obviously. And like I had this concept that I was like, my friends and I, we were like, we'll just meet up. Well, like if you remember old like events like that, like I don't know how many, if you were going to concerts then in like the early 2000s, but like phones would just get all jammed up. Like they would just stop working.
They still do.
And they still do, right?
Yeah.
And so like it wasn't even like a hope. Like I got there, I was like, well, that's not a thing. And then they're like, we're in letter G, and you get to letter G, and it's just you're surrounded by 20,000 people, and I'm like, shit. So I basically like never really found my friends. I just kind of would run into random people, and then like I met up with this chick that I had met through a buddy who went to BC, and she's like, are you Pete, Alex's friend? And we're like, what? And I hung out with them for like a whole night, and like just really wild, like sort of like that feeling of like first Phish show that you just will never get back, like on steroids. Like I was just naked as far as it comes to like preparedness. I had nothing, I slept in my Jetta with like I had no tent. I had nothing. I just like drove up there, and I was like, I'll see my friends. And I didn't see anyone. I just roamed around and had the most incredible. I remember, I can't, dude, this is actually crazy. And I don't think I've ever told anyone this, and I better not like try to find it and get into it. But I have this like journal. I basically like took notes afterwards in just like super shorthand. Like it would be like Derek and the shit truck, and I'd be like, oh my God, that's right, that guy with it. Right. And so I have these 3 pages of notes. They're insane. I talk about what I did each show. And so like one of the sets, like I actually spent the actual time the music was playing just walking around Shakedown. I remember I found this like chili I bought on Shakedown, and I just walked up and down, and I could hear the music, but I was just like, and there was no one out there because everyone's at the show.
It's show, yeah.
Like, not no one. Like it's a festival and it's Phish. So there was people, but
sure.
It was just wild to think of what my perspective was then and how I can never have that again. Does that make sense? I always think
100%.
that I'm like, wow, like I'll never have that rawness again of just being like, what? And then I watched David Bowie. See you later, dude. Like that was it. David Bowie. And this is going to put me on another tangent, but this is what happens when I watch your thing, because I've watched a few of these. I was your first viewer on episode 5, I believe.
Thank you so much.
Views. I was like, I'm in. Let's do it. I don't know. I must have just opened YouTube or whatever at that time. But anyway, go listen to David Bowie from it. And then you always get into this with everyone. Everyone says this on your show. And then you all go like, man, we really got to listen. We got to have music on here. I can't believe we can't have music. Right. So I have a little hack, and I would invite anyone to do this right now if you're listening and watching. But I go and put like a sound check jam on a separate tab in my like browser, and I put it on like super low, and then I let the sound check jam play over your little podcast show thing. That's what I've been doing. It's sick, dude. Because there's like, it's just really chill. And then I listen to you guys talk. And so then I'm getting my Phish, because otherwise you watch this and then you go, man, I got to go listen to Phish. Like it makes you want to, every time you start talking about songs and shows, it makes you want to go listen to it. So
yeah. And what's awesome is for just the people listening, I can go in, and this might be something I do in some later episodes. Yeah. You can go in and add music like in between segments and stuff, or even put it under. But for YouTube specifically, if they pick up any copyright or anything, they'll flag it. So maybe that'll be something I do for just the audio. Yeah.
Cool. But yeah, man, David Bowie, changed my life. That whole time, that whole time changed my life. I was just like, wow. Like, a lot of it, what was really cool to me about it and became sort of this like benchmark that I feel like for a long time kept me locked in the skewed perception of Phish, which was that during it, it was very long. I don't know if you have a lot of experience listening to it, but everything's long. Like 46 Days was like 48 minutes, and Chopped Up Torture is like 34 minutes. Yeah, and they do a Waves that's like 23. That's wild, and a Vultures that's like 22 minutes, and it's crazy. Everything's really long because Trey says at one point in the festival, well, our mantra, our mindset with this has been, foot in a foot in the future, a foot in the past. You're pissing on the present. And he goes, we're really trying to just like be in the moment. We got nowhere to go right now. And then at one point they started going like, after that, someone was like, doom, 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 doom. And they just kind of randomly went into Dog, and it was like super cool. But so there was like a lot of that like improvisation and like sort of really long, like that very 03, like, Trey, yeah, like it just really cool is improvisational, drawn out jams, like not rushed. And so for me, like a long time, that became like all I was. So in Albany 09 fall tour, they did that like 2-song second set or 3-song second set where they did a 46-minute Ghost and like a 38-minute Seven Below.
And were you at that one too?
Oh yeah. And we were like, in that moment, we were like, that's it. This is everything, and everyone, and a lot of people feel that way. They want the 4-song set and all that.
Yeah, yeah.
But like, I realized after a lot of time, like that it's not, I was kind of holding everything to this like standard that wasn't really. Now I look at Phish so much more like all encompassing, and it's less about like one thing. I'm like, oh, I want a wicked long jam, or like it's more about like so many different pieces working and just being like, oh, I feel like they were feeling it tonight. Like just stuff like that. Like, oh, it seems like they were in a good mood tonight. You could tell they had fun. Stuff like that becomes just as important,
Yeah, 100%. And it's like everyone starts out, or I say everyone, most of the people that I've talked to, you start out like you pointed out, you're chasing something, whether it's a song or I want the 4-song second set, I want type 2 everything,
Yeah.
And then as you go and you start experiencing these things, you hit the nail on the head. It's like even if you don't get any jams or they don't go type 2 on anything, which is rare, you still like you walk away with being like, I just saw one of the best, if not the best, rock and roll bands just play in it's you can't. I mean, I say you can't, but as the internet will show us, you can't complain about it. But it's just like you can't complain. I mean, even if they play all the songs that you don't want to hear and they don't jam, like you still just went and saw Phish for 3 hours, dude. Like it's amazing.
And that's the thing that's like so funny when everyone does. Everyone's like, like it's so funny because I've been there. Like I literally have been like, I'm gonna go on to Phish Tour 2014 and I'm gonna write a thing about how great Phish is. I remember one show, I think it was like in 2010 when it was 2010 Merriweather Post, dude, which was a ridiculous. If you remember that, I think it was like the one where they opened with Walfredo and they're all playing each other's instruments.
Oh, yep.
And they played Light My Fire and like, it was just like ridiculous. And I left that one like on one, and I was just screaming, thank you, Phish, like, thank you. Like we all have those ones where we're like, oh, it's the best one ever. And like, it's so funny when that person tries to go like to lengths to justify why it was. It's like, no, you were just feeling it. That's great though. And then it's also just as funny when someone's like, no, it wasn't. It's like, what do you mean? For that person, it was sick. Like, let them, it is what it is,
Yeah.
You don't need to explain to everyone else why it's sick, and you might not be right. But you also can't tell them it wasn't sick because, like, you just have these ones that click, whatever it is. Sometimes it's the people around you at a show.
Yeah, the whole ambiance, and it's whatever you get out of it. Who cares if there's some jaded vet that's like, oh, the set looks whack on paper, and it's like, if you had a blast, who cares, dude? That was an experience that you had. I want to back up a little bit here. So knowing that your first show was it, before then, from the time that you were on vacation with your parents and saw all these hippies to the time that you went to and experienced it yourself, did you have any recollection, or did you know who Phish was, or was that time in the car with your parents, like your first experience to it. How deep into Phish did you get before you went to that first show?
Well, I have this like really weird memory of being in a place that's super familiar to me now, but I was like in Plymouth, New Hampshire, which is up in the White Mountains, so like a touristy like vacation area. And I was on vacation with my family. We lived in Maine at the time, and we're in New Hampshire. And I remember like I was listening to Slip Stitch and Past, so my parents had got it for me. But the point is, I had this like really weird memory of that one time in that car listening to that album and being like trying to figure it out. And I don't know if I was eighth grade or post, but I was around 13 to 15 years old. And that's just a weird memory I have. And it's like of just listening to Slip Stitch and being like, what am I listening to, and trying to figure it out. But to answer your question, yeah, Slip Stitch. My parents must have got it for me, and I listened to it. And again, like it's a lesson in perception, because like I don't even know, man. I look at it now and I'm just like, what did I even think it was? Like, what my favorite part of Wolfman's was on Slip Stitch is when he played the sound of the telephone ringing. He goes,
that was your favorite part?
The phone was ringing. And then he goes, and I was just like, yeah, like whatever it was. I was like 14, like that just clicked with me. I don't even know. It was really weird. It's just, again, like my perception was so unique to it. I was like, I don't even know. Now I look back, like I don't even know what I thought about it. I don't know what I even liked at that point necessarily. I don't know.
Right.
But that was my first experience, Slip Stitch, and I liked it. Some of like the really dark stuff, I think I just like skipped. Like really heavy jamming, I think I just bailed on.
Wasn't ready for it. So did you ask your parents for that, or were your parents fans and they were just, or did they just like randomly find it on a shelf and get it randomly?
Maybe my uncle was really cool, lives in Vermont, and just like puff stuff all the time and everything. Like I don't know, maybe he like clued it in. My dad's an old hippie, kind of not a deadhead necessarily, but like he had a VW that said no nuke, on the license plate. Like,
sure.
So I mean, but I don't know. But I don't know what made him. I think they just probably. Who knows, man? Slip Stitch at that time, pre-Christmas, could have been marketed as like alt rock for your kid. I mean, yeah, probably in the store as like top 10 rock and roll maybe before Christmas that year. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just showed up. I don't know.
No idea.
Parents aren't, like that, and it wasn't my favorite music at that age at all, and it wasn't my, it wasn't like I fell in love with like jamming, or like I started to know who the guys in the band were. Any of that at that age, it was just not. I was too obsessed with the fact that like I got the Beastie Boys tape when I was like 12 or 13. And it had a sticker over the parental advisory. And so my mom didn't know. And so she bought it. And then when she found out, she's like, no. And I was like, it's too late. I have it. That became like my prized possession because it was so, I think, just bad. I wasn't supposed to have it. I learned every word to that whole album, License to Ill. Like I knew every word of it. Well, it was just because of that, like looking back on it. But so it was just kind of in the catalog. And I don't know what I thought of it. I don't know, I think I got the silliness of Phish was what was resonating with me at that young age, which is like Wolfman's and the Phone was fun, cool, but like the jams I bailed on. So but I don't know. After that, I never really I didn't pursue it. I didn't listen to it. I probably listened to like what was on the radio and like whatever. I mean, like Blink-182 or something at that, going into like the year 2000. And then, when I went to college, I think I got like a little bit more aware of like, I mean, by that point I was like had gone to 0304 and had gone through 0304 and then was like, I'm now in college, the prime time. And it's,
it's over.
It's over for now. Yeah. So, but yeah, it was not a big part of adolescence, and I wasn't really like attracted to it. And it wasn't until that trip that I was like, and even then I fell in love with like what that scene looked like. I looked at it like, wow, look at these people. Like I want to see what that's about,
Yeah. Well, however Slip Stitch Pass found its way to you, I'm glad it did.
So I've got to be mom and dad. I don't know. Or, like I said, maybe my uncle said, give him this. I don't know.
So now that we've kind of like gotten a history, of like your first show and like how you got into the band, we all have favorite jams. And one of the things that I like to do, because it's nearly impossible, is ask people what their favorite jam of all time is? Like, you're on a desert island, you can only listen to one jam for the rest of your life. What is that for you?
I know, and I've heard other people, and I've like thought about it too. I think it's like best to just, for all of us, I bet all of us go through the same thing, which is like listen to different bits. Like, you get locked into something, right? And then at different times you listen to different things. Like, you ask people like, I'm really listening to a lot of 94 right now. So I think the best thing to do is answer like where I'm at right now. And I have been sweating the Boise 99 shit, dude. Have you heard the Boise 99 show? It is so good, dude. Oh, you know it. Yeah, I mean, I didn't know it until very recently, and I was like,
"Oh, really?
Come on!" So in my restaurant, dude, we play Phish. Like, it's like very casually mixed in. Like, at 5:55, there's like 5 minutes of Phish, and then after like 9:30 at night, there's like a block, and we give a lot of Phish radio, and the Dead will play and stuff like that. And there's like a couple of them mixed in, and sometimes you gotta like look at my bar manager, who's like an early head, and I'll be like, oh, it's like. It's like a live antelope, and I'm like, this is gonna be ugly, and some of that. One of us will run and skip it, but we'll also look at each other and be like, send it, let it ride, it's almost over, but it's fun anyway. So this came on, that Gumbo came on, which is like so fire, dude. That Gumbo is so funky. It's like very 98. So yeah, I have been sweating that Gumbo. I could listen to that on a desert island forever. Sure. Yeah, I mean, if not, that first David Bowie from It, I still listen to a lot of like 98, 97, and 99 Phish more than I listen to this David Bowie. But for everything that it means to me, I could probably listen to that David Bowie forever too, because
that was your first.
It is really good. And it's like, dude, he does like 5 or 6 of those sort of like, those faux endings that he does at the end. He's like, wee, wee, and then it goes, diddly, 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 diddly. Like, oh, dude, he does it like 6 times. And I just lost my mind. And it ended, and I was just, this is it. Like, this is the coolest thing. It was like so cool. I was locked in after that. But so I could listen to that too. That would be,
Those are two really solid answers. We were talking about 99 on the last episode, and like just Trey's tone alone in 99 it's unmatched as far as I'm concerned.
So good, man. And
so good.
So much listening to 98 that I haven't really explored a lot of 99. So when that Gumbo came on, I was like, what? And now I'm just listening to that show all the time, man.
Yeah, it's funny how we get on those paths. Like you said it before. It's like, oh yeah, I'm listening to 94 right now, or I'm listening to 99. It's like you get locked in these eras, It's like because each one has a certain feel. Like the jamming style is so different.
The Roxy in 94 would like would never, that's like, it's not a different band, it's like exaggerating, but like that versus like Island Tour is just like not,
it is almost like a different band. Different phases for sure. Okay, favorite jams, we got that out of the way. What is something, or what is a song from Phish that you would be okay with never hearing again? I feel like we all have at least one, if not a couple, to where when it comes on, you're just like, man, what's that for you?
Man. So one of my most unpopular hates is It's Ice. I hate It's Ice.
Yeah.
But then, like, and I think Kyle texted me during this, but like they smashed one at Baker's Dozen, and I was there, and it was like, oh, that was sick. So I might have to take that one off.
What would it be about It's Ice that turned you off before the Baker's Dozen?
Same as what am I thinking of? Foam.
Yeah, just the time signature of it.
Like, It's Ice does that forever. It feels like it's just like
the walking up and down. Yeah,
yes, the walking up and down. Those songs drive me crazy. I hate that. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess those usually, I don't know. Yeah, maybe one of those, honestly. But it's like, I feel like it's cheating to just say like Time Turns. It's like
an easy target.
It's like a political answer, It's like everyone's like, he's all right.
Like, you nailed it.
I know, and it's true though. I wouldn't care if I ever heard it again, but
sure.
I don't know. Unpopular answer, like anything a cappella, like
Yeah.
let's just do this, you know?
I'm with you on that. And as far as like unpopular opinions go, and this might be a popular opinion, I don't know, but like the ending of Yim, like I could
Yeah.
do without all of the
But
like for
hey, is it not like it's such a defining line for me in my own experience to like, it makes me check where I'm at, right? Because I'm either like, you know, or I'm like, yes, oh, you know, and yeah, and I'm like, this is the greatest thing ever. And so it's like, it really makes you figure out where you're at. Like, you know, you're like, how do I feel about a Yem Jam in this show? That'll really let you know where your head's at.
yeah.
But no, for the most part, I'm with you because I'm like, damn, this is crucial time, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I feel
Yeah,
like the first Yim that I got live, you know, I tapped into that like, okay, I'm gonna close my eyes. They're really doing something here. And then after that, I was like, okay, let's go. Let's get it.
yeah,
Let's go.
yeah. It's all about, you know, it's all about how you prepared that night, you know?
Yeah.
Sometimes, depending on how you prepared, shit's wild. And you just go like, man, did you hear Fishman? That was crazy, or whatever.
Yeah. I mean,
Like,
if they lock into like on the vocal jams, if they lock into like a pattern and it's like there's something to it, then I don't mind it. But whenever it's just whenever they're doing like a 94 Bowie like type 2, you know, like crazy shit with the vocal stuff, like count me out, dude.
Yeah.
But I feel like you do have somewhat of an unpopular opinion with like you mentioned foam and then it's ice. So it's good. You didn't take any of the easy targets. You weren't like Joy or Farmhouse.
People get mad about those all the time, especially you know. But yeah, I mean, because like first of all, your boy is like the whole thing with Pete is like it's all ballads, you know. Oh, Pete and his ballads. Like, so I love the ballads. So like Joy wouldn't even make me. It's not my favorite ballad, but it wouldn't make me mad, you know. I'd be like, oh, you know, like I'm about the ballads, dude. I dig it. So
and once I heard the story behind the song Joy, I was like, okay, I can't like. I feel bad hating on this one.
Is that about his sister? Yeah, right.
Yeah. Like, okay, I feel kind of an asshole for shitting on this.
I always dig a ballad. My friends are at shows and they get them. You know, I'm like sure they're bummed. I'm like, yo, sick. You know, I'm like a Rogue man, or like, you know, I'd even like, you know, I really like is "Let Me Lie," which no one wants to see "Let Me Lie," but I saw that in Meriwether Post in Maryland. I was just like, yeah, dude, it was sick.
Digging on it.
Yeah, Dirt, like 100%. Sign me up,
dude. I like Dirt. I like Bug.
Yeah, Bug is like one of my favorites.
Yeah, Bug is good. Oh, one of the newer ones they have. What is it? Shade.
Yeah,
yeah, dude.
That's
Shade.
He loves Shade.
yeah, sure. Especially if you're a few deep and like, that comes on, you're just like,
yeah, I love that one.
Don't cry.
Sure, I text my wife every time. I'm like, I wish you were here.
Okay. What if you were going to, and you might have had this experience, you know, with even your wife, if you were going to try to convince someone or get someone on board with Team Phish, what is a certain, you know, what song or show or album are you going to put on to be like, hey, this is why Phish is great?
That's tough. Man.
Yeah, it's tough because it really it depends on the person and their taste. Yeah.
Like because you have that opportunity, right? Like you have the ability to go, well, like ask that one question. Well, what do you listen to or whatever? Because there is, like we just said, those different phases and those different sort of like .0s or whatever you want to call them. Those sort of like if it were Trey's way, it'd be like there'd be like 8.0s by now. You know, like he sees it, which I think we all should see it, which is like the 94 and then like the 97, 99, and then 99 started to change. But I don't know. It does. It's like you have the ability to curate it. So like you kind of want to know like what's that person about. I think you're safe with 98 stuff. Like one of the things I like my go-to is Island Tour because it's on like every public jukebox and like it is funky and no one's mad about it for the most part, you know, and that's a really good Island Tour is a great way to turn someone on to Phish, honestly. Like, cause I put it on public places all the time and, you know, you listen to something from Island Tour that's just funky and people are like, damn, what is this? Like that's not going to not turn someone on to Phish. If you put on the Roxy, you know, or like 93 Bowie that goes in and out of like the Simpsons and like something else, like, and you're just like, what is happening? You know,
like, what is this?
Yeah, that's a specific type of person you want. Yeah, you're my friends, I'll give you something. But no, I think for the most part, like a 98 is safe, or if you were to, you know, pick something present day that's, I don't know, there's plenty of stuff that's soft enough nowadays. But I think 98 would be a cool way to get someone to go, whoa, who's this? And it's like what we all like. It's also being like core, you know.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Phish, man, you know.
Yeah.
Not like, listen to Shade, and they're like, I do like this, and you're like, I know, this is great. I've been seeing them lately. Yeah,
you should listen to some of their deep cuts, like Farmhouse.
Yeah. My friend, driving out to Albany to see a show, to see Farmhouse, hopefully.
Yeah, no, I love that answer. I feel like Island Tour because it is, because I got a lot of looks in college, and just anywhere that has a jukebox that has Phish on it, you know, you're gonna see the Island Tour on there. And
Providence Soundcheck Jam's my go-to. It's like 20 minutes and fire, you know. Providence Soundcheck every time.
You got people looking around like, what the fuck is going on?
I do that all the time, and I did it today. And I go right for sound checks, right?
Yeah.
So I put one on, and it was dope. It was a 98. I'm like, cool. Then I went like 96, and the name is called, and if you're out there, look this up. It's called the Overload Sound Check, and it is so.
Does it go deep?
Off our minds today. It's so gnarly. And it has exclusively Fishmen singing. And so he's just like, and the music is just like so gnarly. And at one point, he's like, the Overload. And then it goes, and Mike's playing the drill. You know, he's like, Dude, these old people get up, and the woman is looking at the jukebox, and she goes to the bartender who we know, and we're watching this happen. We're dying. And she says, apparently, she comes and tells us this. She goes, is this supposed to be happening? And they go, yeah, it's music. Someone put a song on. She goes, so it's supposed to be like this? And they go, yeah. And she goes, well, as long as it's a song. And I was like, that was amazing. Like she respected the art, but only if she knew it was art, and she wasn't sure if something was like wrong with it. It was just so broken. It was bad. I said to the bartender, like, I'm so sorry. She's like, whatever, it's all good. And it was like 15 minutes of just like
nonsense.
Yeah, nonsense, man. The Overload sound check. Go check that out. I think it's like 96 or something. Anyway,
yeah, I'll look for it.
Anyway, so I don't even remember what the question was, but we got way out.
No, it's good. It's good. One of the things, and you mentioned Fishman, and I feel like he's a popular answer for this question. And you actually, like I was saying earlier, like we've never met before, so you might have met all of the members. I have no idea. But if you could pick one member of Phish to hang out with and like have beers with, go to dinner with, who are you going with?
Yeah, I mean, so this is a Lincolnville. Where am I at? There it is. Lincolnville General Store shirt. What's up?
Represent. Okay, cool. I don't know anything about that.
Oh my God, it's deep cuts only, dude. This is the kind of gifts we give in my family. We're that core. It's like double disconnect. This is John Fishman's store in Maine.
No shit.
Maine, where he's like a selectman and whatnot. I don't know if he still is. He was a selectman. This is the store he owns there. Yeah. So this is the store he bought.
I had no idea.
Yeah. So this is where he lives in Maine. And so my brother got me this one year, right? Like if you know, and I was like, yeah, because he lives near there. But I don't know. Fishman would be easy and cool because he lives where my family lives in Maine, and there's like a lot of, I could actually have probably really good conversation with him. Mm-hmm. But I think like if I just had one chance, like it would probably be Trey, just to like experience him, and see what he's like all, like I feel like the whole time he'd just be like, oh man, everything is so great. He's just like so excited about like everything he's into, and I would just let him do that and just like listen,
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, Trey is like one of those to where my immediate reaction is like Trey every time. Like I want Trey because like I play guitar or used to play guitar, and he plays guitar, and it's just like he's the front man, It's like that's the guy. Trey is the guy. And I would just be so I wouldn't be able to, one, enjoy myself, and two, I would certainly ruin his time because I'm just gonna be there like fangirling out the whole time. I'm not even gonna have like a real conversation.
Yeah, but I don't even care. It's one dinner, right? I was looking at it like it's one dinner. I don't care. Like I'm just going in. I'm just gonna be like, just hit me with it. Like just talk about it. But yeah,
taking pictures the whole time. It's like, can we get one more selfie, dude?
Yeah. I've met Mike, but Mike's always like active and shit. So I've like, seen him in a bar or whatever. And, but no, I think, Trey, just for like the thrill of like, hopefully he like just goes off and talks about what he's about. I just want to know, like, I mean, think about it. He came up with that whole thesis and that whole like first album and that whole thing. It's just like, wow.
Yeah. What's going on in there?
Yeah, he's a pretty wild guy, man. He's a wild dude. But yeah,
I feel like they're all going to be fun. But yeah, Trey would be like the pinnacle. I would not be able to hold my shit together. And Fishman, I feel like you get a few beers in with Fishman and you're just going to be laughing your ass off the whole time.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I'd be like, let's go open the store and get a bunch of candy.
He'd be like, I'm so down.
He's like, I'm in. He's like, I'm already there. Yeah.
So one of the things that I wanted to get into with you, because I heard Kyle's version of how you guys met at Coventry. But just from his perspective, it's limited. There's two sides to the story of how you guys met. So the basic, and you listened to Kyle's episode, Coventry, everybody's familiar, it's shit show, muddy, everything. And so you met him, you were driving your van or your RV and he was walking. Am I remembering this correctly?
Yeah, they were totally walking, dude. They were walking. It looked like they walked from Burlington. It was ridiculous. I told you about it, right? Which is good because it's precursor, right? Like it was just a disaster in my preparation. I mean, I was just totally unprepared. I just had no perception of what it meant to be prepared. So the next year I'm like, I'm not fucking this up, So my grandfather has this like Allegro. I think it was called Allegro. And it was one of those RVs that was like the front looked like a Dodge utility van does now. It was always like kind of streamlined looking, but then the back looked like a Westphalia almost, right? It was like, on the smaller side, but it had like the big rollout awning on the side and like a bed and a bathroom in the back. And like, it's legit. And I'm like, I'm going to do it right. So I asked him if I can borrow. He's like, yeah. Through like a number of different things that took place, I ended up, everyone that was supposed to be in the RV with me kind of like fell through. And so now I'm like in this thing alone and I'm like, whatever, I'm still going to take it. Cause I'm just thinking about how bad I blew it. Right. And I'm just like, I'm going to be cool this time.
Yeah.
And I'm like 19, And so I went up like Wednesday night, dude, I want to say. And I got there so early. And I got about like 2.5 miles probably, maybe something like that from the airport entrance. And it was where I ran into stop traffic. So now I'm talking like where, if everyone knows what happened on Coventry. I went off the highway, down the main road, past the first gas station. I got to the first gas station. I went inside. I bought a ticket. They said, we are only going to sell you Oh no, I said, if I buy two, will you give them to me for like 600 or 500? And they said yes. So I bought the two for 500, but the ATM wouldn't let me take out more inside. Dude, it was like this crazy transaction, right? Which left me with an extra. And I pull out of that gas station, and then by that point, the line of traffic had come to me. And I was like, oh. So I get in it, stop, and I never turned it on again for like, what was it, like 8 hours or whatever, right? Like, and we didn't move. So that whole first period, and the reason it was so bad is because for, 10 hours, we didn't move, period. So like it was just backing up all the way to the highway. So anyway, we start moving on, was it Thursday or Friday? They were in Camden. I want to say it was the day before, right? So it must have been Friday. But anyway, might have been Thursday. They're in Camden, and that show starts at 8. And like right when that show started, we start moving in traffic. It was wild. And I was like, oh, cool. So I'm gonna kind of do the traffic thing and listen to the show. Not very long into traffic, these guys are walking by, and they all have like big, huge packs on. And I keep tagging with them, right? Like in the traffic. Mm-hmm. And then finally one of them's like, hey man, you get any room in there? Like kind of like whatever, naively. And the rest of them are like, dude, shut up, man. What the fuck? And I was like, no, I do. I was like, dude, I'm soloing here. Get in here. Like, and I think I might have been walking back to it because we would get out and like talk to other people and whatever.
Sure.
So we all get in and they get in too. And then this girl that I just met who was with this guy from Canada comes up and is like, hey, do you want me to drive your RV? And you guys are sitting on the back. I'm not kidding you. This is like this happened. I just met her too. And I'm like, yes. And I like, here you go. And so she's just driving my grandfather's RV. And I have 4 guys from Oklahoma that I've never met before in the back. And they like stack their bags to the ceiling, turn around, introduce everybody. I light a joint and we're like 2 songs into Camden. And it was just like, we just jammed to the whole Camden show. And so almost the exact amount of time the Camden show took to happen is how long it took us, about 4 hours to do that 2.5 miles. And as we were coming into the venue, we got onto the runway. They drove us through the muddy road, which was still okay at the time, through the fields, up to the runway, which was sort of the closest you could get, onto the right runway. And then about a mile down the runway or whatever, they go like this, and they pull me off the side, and I went about 2 feet, and it was just like, and that's it. And that's where we were. And that's where the 4 of them and I all hung out. And so Kyle had like nowhere to stay pretty much. His tent was a joke. And so he was like on one end of the RV. I'm on the other end of the RV. And then the other guys all slept underneath so we took my awning out day 1, like right away, because we were in early. I mean, we were in really early, well before, all that traffic shit. We didn't get stuck on the highway, none of that. And so, when Mike said, we don't like us to come, like blah, 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 we were like already in there set up. So we had this awning we set up over to this Canadians that we met's car and created this like huge dry zone. And it stayed that way. It stayed that way the whole time with this beautiful spot. And these guys were all tented there. And Kyle and I were in the RV. And every day we'd stand on top of the RV and just like do dumb stuff. And one day there was like this mini tornado in the festival grounds. And it took a black trash bag. This is the craziest shit, man. It took a black trash bag until we could not see it anymore into the ozone. It was wild. And we all stood there. Me, Chap, and Kyle stood on the roof just looking at it until we couldn't see it anymore. Did anyone see it? I don't see it. It was weird. It was really weird. It just kept swirling up. Yeah. But anyway, that was one of the things that we did at Coventry. But so we became friends and we stayed in touch. And then I think, as he mentioned on your show, when he did his episode, that he came to my wedding. So we're talking from 04 to 18. I would say on average, we would talk to each other almost once a week if you average it out. I mean, we stayed in contact there was times where we'd text at some point and we'd have a few words back and forth, and then it would end and I'd go, can't believe I fucking still talk to that guy. It's so cool. And hats off to him. He's probably better at staying in touch than I am, I think, but I try to reciprocate it. But it was really cool. And so when it came time for my wedding, he was like, you know what? We go to Maine sometimes anyway. Lydia has family up there, and they were like, yeah, we'll go to Maine. And I think they hit that kind of hit those folks too, and kind of double use the trip. But they did come to my wedding, and it was awesome. And I mean, just to have I took a picture with him and put on my Instagram, was like, this guy I met in 04 and haven't seen since. And that's what Phish will. I mean, that's one of the coolest Phish stories. That's and I'm sure a lot of people have those, but it's just how many years is that, right? What is that? That's
so 04, and then you got married in what year?
Or 04, right? So 18.
Yeah, dude.
So 8 and 6, is that what it is? Right? 16, 14 years, right? Is that right?
That is.
No,
I think you're right.
Yeah. So yeah, pretty cool. And then what he failed to mention is after the wedding, I haven't seen him until Arkansas this year, because it was Arkansas, right? It was pretty much an Oklahoma show. And I was like, bro, guess what? I got to come to the Oklahoma show,
Yeah.
Oklahoma. And so he picked me up at the airport, and I flew down to Arkansas and did the first show of the tour. And we hung out, and he, introduced me to some of his friends, and it was awesome. So dude, it's really cool. Yeah.
It's so cool. And those are the things to a lot of people, whether it's, you're talking about your family or your friends, that aren't in this community,
Yeah.
to them, it's just, oh yeah, no, I got a buddy, he's like into Phish and he goes and spends all his money and goes on these summer tours. But like the story you just told
Yeah.
is a, you could argue not a byproduct of it, but like what it's really all about. It's like,
Yeah. Sure.
it's, who would have thought? I mean, what other concert is that happening at outside of like the Dead or anything like that? Like where you're at a concert, you're going to a concert, you meet another group of people that are also at that concert from a different part of the country, and then fast forward 14 years and your fucking wedding, and it's like you're still talking to this day. It's bizarre, man. It's so cool.
It's so cool. And what I think is cool is like you always have, everyone's like, well, when everyone says like Facebook's stupid, I'm always like, well, this is a really good example of why those kind of things, like at their core, are cool. Like it is really good. Someone's like, I don't even have Facebook. I'm like, well, I know what my friend is doing that I lived with for 1 year, 7 years ago in Oregon.
Yeah.
Like because of it. So it is cool. So it's cool to keep in touch with those people. But our example is like pretty extreme. I think like I said, Kyle's done a really good job of like keeping that friendship alive, and I try to do the same. And like we put a lot of effort to it. But everyone at home too can think of like these sort of smaller scale versions of that too, right? Like there's so many. As you're saying that, and I was like, it was really resonating. I'm like, yeah. And then I was like, man, I'm thinking of all the other people that I, whether it's just we became friends on Facebook or like we hung out 1 or 2 more times after that, or maybe you just like linked up on a tour and then you don't see. But yeah, there are so many other versions of that too that are all just as like genuine and just as like valuable. It's really cool.
Yeah, even if it's not at a show. Like I met a guy at this point maybe 6 months ago. It was in 2021, and I was at the gym and he was at the gym. Never met the guy before in my life, just 2 random people. And he was wearing a Phish shirt. And I was like, yo, what's up, man? Start talking about Phish and everything like that. Boom, Facebook friends. And it's just like, it's this immediate connection.
It is. It's a cool, and it's really like how small it starts to feel too. Like if you go to a show that's like, I mean, I don't know, this is harder for people that are in the Midwest, but like for us, like, if you go to a show and it's 40 minutes away or whatever, you like, like exactly who you're going to see. And all of a sudden that world's so small. And you go, I actually might know like 1,000 people out of these 9,000. I mean, it really does become a small community too. It's cool.
Especially for that area that you're in. It's like every show is kind of a hometown show,
we're very lucky.
I'm so jealous. I wish, like, part of me wishes I would have grown up in that part of the country, just because I know I could have seen Phish so many more times, just because of the access. And it's
minimal commitment in so many cases. I mean, if you look at show days, like a lot of my shows are like Sunday and Monday. I have like a reasonable Sunday Monday count, and people go like, you would think to yourself, well, how many Monday shows are there? But like whenever there was, I was there because I work in restaurants, and it was probably close enough for me to drive. So that's always been, and like, obviously being close to MSG in New York. I mean, I don't even know, like that's actually the problem is I don't know, but I wish I like wrote 3 pages down after every show, not just after it. But how many times just the stories from Madison Square alone, like just so many, so we're really lucky here to be around it and to be, able to hit it like low impact to your social life and to your work life and low impact to your wallet. Like I don't have to fly, and that's so we're lucky for sure.
Well, next time that they do an East Coast run, I'm gonna be hitting you up, man. This is another one of those friendships that is blooming out of the band and out of this podcast. And like I was saying when we started, like these are granted, I don't have a lot of episodes in the bank right now, but some of my favorite ones have been with people that I don't know. It's kind of the whole point, because now, I've got a new Phish friend, and you already know like one of my friends, and it's just like this weird interconnected thing.
I know, man. I like Kyle's like, I know. I told him he should just connect each one to the next, and I was like, right, it would be great. Like just have like you sort of just make your way across the country, and like,
and eventually it just leads to Trey.
Right. And that's the thing too with like Kyle, like he goes to Dick's every year. A lot of my friends go to Dick's every year, and he's talking to them. You know, like I get pictures of them.
Yeah.
They're probably going like, wait, how do you know Pete again? But they're hanging out, and I'm getting the photos, going like, oh man. So that was happening for years. Even in the last few years before we were linking up. So it's pretty funny.
That is funny, man. Well, I'll make it a point to hit an East Coast show, and you make it a point to hit Dick's, because Dick's is that one kind of for all of us, that grew up in the Midwest. It's just like a big, like you were saying,
sure.
hundreds, if not thousands of people there. It's just like
tons of my people even go. I mean, everyone. It's a big people. That's obviously a huge pilgrimage show. Like a lot of like what is it, like repeat? It's like MSG. The same people that are like, I go to every MSG. Like I go to every Dick's.
Yeah.
So I'll get out there.
Yeah. You get out there. I'll get on the East Coast, and we'll link up in real life, man. Pete, thank you so much for taking the time and being on the podcast, and I look forward to seeing you at a show, man. And your handle's right there. Is that your Instagram handle or all of them?
Mostly hiking and mountain biking, but there's shows still these days. Less and less these days, but
yeah. So if you're watching, hit up Pete, give him a follow. And if you're in the area, check out his restaurant. We didn't even plug your restaurant. What's the name of your restaurant?
Plug the restaurant, Campo Enoteca, Republic Cafe. Those are the two restaurants. Campo, CAMPO ENOTECA. It's an Enoteca. It's a wine bar. Yeah.
Wicked.
Right,
yeah. If you're
good, snuck a wicked in just in time from New England, dude. It's wicked good. Come on in. It's wicked
good. Is that your slogan?
Of course it is. It's New England. That's what we all say. All of our slogans, yeah. Dude, you have to come. All right, it's wicked good, dude.
Wicked good, dude. Yeah. Worcester shows playing on the jukebox.
Worcester show with a Dunkin' in my hand, kid. Forget about it.
Oh my God. All right. Well, it was great meeting you. Thanks again for being on the show. And I've got your number now. So whenever tour dates get released, we'll find one we can link up at, man.
Reach out. Absolutely. And I'll keep an eye on the episodes, man. I love watching them. I've seen a few. It's fun.
Thank you so much, man. And thanks for being an early supporter. It's
absolutely, dude. You got a chance to grow something that's very can be very broad. We are everywhere. Like it's endless. The opportunities are endless.
It's the universe. Be like that trash bag you saw at Coventry. It's just gonna go up and up.
Wild. You asked Kyle about that. That's so funny.
All right, man. It was good talking to you. Later.
All right, man. You too. Thanks a lot, bro.